In this video, I'm going to talk about Drfx, which is new in 17.2. This is aimed at everybody, but I think creators and people who make packs to sell them or to give them away are going to get a lot more out of this than end users. End users will use Drfx because it makes it so simple, but when you're a creator, you've got to think about what path you're putting it in, and it's great because you can do versioning, you can do anything you want with it. I'm inside the edit page and I've got the effects library and titles open, and I'm going to deal with titles in this video because that's what I do. These 3D titles are from version 16 and they're available on my Buy Me a Coffee already as a Drfx, and I've done that so you can have a play with them. You just download them, drag them into Fusion, bingo. What I need to do though is go to the Fusion page, and I need to go to the Fusion page because Fusion is integrated with your operating system. So I'm going effects library, template, edit, titles. The folders here, the bins here, or whatever you want to call them, are my bins. They contain the default bins plus extra ones. So shortly, when I drag some into the node tree to update and add more into here, yours will be slightly different, and hopefully that'll make sense in a minute. But I've got extra folders, and you can have extra folders, you can have whatever folders you want. The reason I've come into Fusion is Fusion's integrated with your computer far more than you would imagine, and why that's important is the Drfx files is using Windows and Mac normal operating system commands to make the whole process simple. And I think that's really clever of Blackmagic. Instead of reinventing the wheel, they've gone, well, hang on a minute, if we drag a file into an Explorer window in Windows that's got the same name as another folder, so if you drag an edit folder into a folder that's got an edit folder in, it doesn't make a copy, it overwrites it. It doesn't delete anything, it will only add. It's a copy, not a move or a delete or anything else. It's not synchronized or mirror, and it works with compressed files, so this is really powerful. So I'm inside the Fusion page, and the reason I'm inside the Fusion page is so I can come over one of these, right click, and it says show folder. You can go into the three dots, but I want to do this specifically because when I do this, it'll open my Explorer window with the template Drfx files in. Now, straight off the bat, this is just a zip folder. You might have them where you've got on your computer .zip. It's just a different extension. The extension is Drfx, which means Davinci Resolve understands it a little bit more, and you get a little icon. It's really sexy, isn't it? What I want to do is just quickly show you the path map. These are the defaults for Davinci Resolve. So when you download 17.2 and load it, everything that comes with 17.2, apart from system files that they don't want you to see, is inside Program Files, Blackmagic Design, Davinci Resolve, Fusion Templates. As a user or a creator that makes packs, you do not want to put anything in these folders. And the reason for that is every time they update Davinci Resolve, this folder will be refreshed. Your user path and your program data will remain intact, but the program files will change. So this is where you'll find defaults. It's not where you load your own packs. One downside to the Drfx or zip file is if you have a default, so we've got dartbox text as a default. If I bring another dartbox text in, we'll have two of them inside the effects library because I need to put it inside this folder because it's only a folder for it to overwrite that. Not 80-90% of people that's not going to affect, but if you create a pack and you put it in program files by mistake, you're going to end up with lots of duplicates in here. Would like to show you now, before I jump into this folder, is where I get the information from And every time they update Davinci Resolve, they update the development docs. So just come to the help, documentation, developer, and it brings you to this folder structure. And inside here is lots and lots and lots of information on using Fusion and Davinci Resolve. I would highly recommend every time they release something is look in here. And we're going to look in Fusion templates. I'm going to look at the README. I'm going to go to the top. And in here it tells you about Fusion transitions, how to build a transition. It's got a tip here which is really good. When saving as a group, it allows you to change the internal tools. So a lot of people saved macros. We used to, before version 17, we'd save a macro and then people would go, oh, you just go into the code and you change macro operators to group operator and you get inside it. I don't think we need macro operators anymore, because with a group operator, even if you're not sending it to somebody, you can open it, you can have a look at it, you can add nodes, you can take nodes away, you can play with it. It's really easy, it's really good. And we can re-edit things in the macro editor. Fusion generators, fusion titles, fusion effects, bundle assets. So as of 17.2, Resolve allows various asset files to be included and used with your template. This is brilliant because not only are we talking about adding, let's say I do a pack, which is a call out pack, and I've got 10 call outs inside that pack. I can send it as one folder. You drag it into Fusion, it's loaded. However, what I can do is actually add extra assets. I can add FBX Mesh 3D LUTs in there. I can add JPEGs. There's so much I can add that it's going to make a huge difference with preventing media offline with packs. Not if you're editing, but if you're making a pack and you send out an MP4 or you send out a mat with a pack, it'll now just be available to the end user without doing any linking or anything. Really good, really powerful. So some examples in here, a good explanation of anim curves. Great tip here about anim curves. The results of anim curves are in the spline view and update live. So that's brilliant. You can actually see the curve of the anim effect. So the anim curve that's in the effects library that does all your easing functions, and you can tweak them. We have custom inside the inspector, but you can use the spline view to customize them. Template icons. Ion software, who made Fusion, used to use bitmaps. And if you had a bitmap inside a folder, you'd see it in the Fusion page, but you wouldn't see it in the edit page. Blackmagic have changed that now, so the whole of Blackmagic is PNG. And that means if you've got a PNG file with the same name as your dot setting file in the folder, you'll now see a thumbnail on every page. What that means is if you go into your folder structure now and you've got a bitmap and you convert it to PNG, you'll see it across the whole of Resolve. That's another really good move. Now these, I'm going to quickly talk about path maps. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to talk about Windows. But path maps are important. If you are selling something or sending something to somebody that you want them to be able to use, do not send it in the program files, because they'll be overwritten every time there's an update. If you're going to send it to a user or sell a pack, I would recommend putting it in the program data. And the reason for that is then every user on that machine can use that pack. You can do it specifically by using the user folder. So the logged in user will see the pack and no other user will see it. So if I buy the pack, I put it on my computer and somebody else comes to my computer and they log in a guest or they log in with their own account, they can't see it. However, I can share it with them. So there's no real point in putting it in a user folder to restrict people's use of it when it can be done anyway. And I think this goes as well with the macro operators and group operators. People can open a macro, so why give them that hurdle anyway? If they're the kind of person that's going to pirate software, there's ways around that as well. and that is to develop a plugin and get it to talk to home, so you get a license. But if we're just using all these templates, etc., then it needs to be in the right path. Davinci Resolve have 2 paths. They used to have 4, and the reason they had 4 was because it was for a production environment where you'd have people in different rooms working on the same project doing different things, and they needed access to everything. For the consumer market, you only need 2, and now they've gone down to 2 for everybody. So that's all users and specific users, and any defaults are in the program files folder, except the stuff they don't want you to see. That's a little bit about the path maps, and then down here we've got some information about the bundles. So Drfx bundles is just a zip file, and zip files are supported too, and I'll show you that now. So that's the information you get inside Davinci Resolve. Okay, in Fusion 9 we had extra templates. So what would happen is we'd download Davinci Resolve, we'd then go and download Fusion 9 free. We'd get the extra pack that's inside Fusion 9 and load it into Resolve, and we've got extra effects. Don't worry about that anymore, because in 17.2 the effects in Fusion are the same as in Davinci Resolve. There's no benefit anymore to download Fusion 9 for the free extra templates, but I'm going to show you that this is a template zip file. If I open it, this folder structure inside this zip folder is the same as this folder structure here, except I've added some. So glitch is Brian Ray's glitch files. Style text is what's already built in. Backgrounds is already built in. And we used to get Fusion 9 to get extra in here, but there's no need anymore. They're all there. And it was a zip file, and all you do is grab the zip file and drop it in there, and that's it, loaded. So if we look inside this Drfx file, I've got 7-zip installed, so I can open archive, and look, we've got the edit and we've got the Fusion. So there's the edit folder, there's the Fusion folder. We go inside, we've got the effects, we've got the generators, we've got the titles, we've got the transitions. We go inside here, we've got the same as here. So as long as the folder structure is correct, it's going to load correctly. Do remember though, if you add any default files into the user or program data path, it will duplicate in here now. Not a major problem, because there's no reason to duplicate it. If you create new ones, like these 3D titles, because you'll see here I've got templates. If I open this archive of DRX, go into edit, titles, all you've got in here is the titles that are below this 3D. So all these are the default titles. These titles are somewhere else. If I go over the top of it, right click and show folder, then it's here. So the 3D titles, if we go into this one, there's an edit folder, title folder, and there's the 3D titles, and it will add it in here because the substructure of the folder, so the subfolders are in the correct order. So remember, we've got edit and any one of these. If I wrote in here, so we've got titles, if I added another folder and called it John's Effects, it would then create another folder in here. So this folder structure is looking inside here, and it does work very similar to symbolic links because there is a folder structure, it's there. So this folder structure here, where there's nothing in there, is the same folder structure as in there, but the computer looks in both of these and goes, oh, they're called the same, we'll just have them as one, which is really clever of Davinci Resolve to do, Blackmagic to do. This file's available on Buy Me a Coffee to download to play with. So it gives you something to play with. These are really clunky. They're from 16. They were taken out because they were clunky. So don't expect any major performance wow out of these. They're not. It was just to show you the 3D title effects as a Drfx. Another thing I want to show you, I'm going to bring in this. This is just my title archive. I'm going to go into titles, and then you'll notice that I've got the 3D text and then the PNG file to give the thumbnail. And if I come down, I'm actually gonna come, I've got call outs. So let's go to call out. Don't forget, what you can also do is just take a settings file in the Fusion page and drag it. You can drag it into this panel here, but I always put it over the word, let go. And then this is now in there. So call out 2 is now there just by drag and drop. And that's because Fusion is integrated with your operating system. Cut, copy, paste work, symbolic links work, operating systems commands work. Anything you do in this window here that I've got open on top of Fusion, you can do in Fusion, which is a food for thought because there's a lot you can do there. I've got this call out zip here, but it won't work if I drag it into here because the folder structure is not correct. If we open it up, you'll see it's just call outs. What happens is this needs to be inside a folder that'd be edits, titles, and then it will put them in this titles folder. If I just drag them in, it won't display because Davinci Resolve can't see the correct folder structure or any folder structure. If this was in a folder called callouts, then a folder here would appear called callouts. So let me demonstrate that. I'm going to come to this callout 2 and I'm going to open the folder, and you'll notice it's on its own. So all the others have gone and we haven't a Drfx file, and that's because it's in the user data. So this here, if you drag it in, it's going to put it in the user folder, which is the right way to do. So if I want to remove that, I can just delete it. So I can still add files in here and they'll end up in here. But what I'm going to do, did I close the folder? If I then put them in a folder, and that folder needs to, let's call it callouts. Top now. And then I'm going to put callouts in another folder, which is called edit. So I want to create a new folder. Go in edit. And then zip the edit folder up, add to archive. And let's call this callouts.drfx. Now the reason I can put drfx here is because the archive format is zip. If I put zip there, it'll still work. So zip it up, install, and there we go. I've now got the new folder here with all the callouts in. We go to the edit page. They're not in there because I put them in Fusion. So we've got Fusion. The only way to put it in here is to have it in titles. Open that up, delete it. We've got edit callouts. What I need to do is have that as titles. So it'd be edit titles, and then I'd zip that up. And then I've got callout Drfx, drag it in there, install it, edit titles, there's the callouts. But now they're not in here because you have to restart Davinci Resolve again, so it's not live save anymore. So live save for the edit and the cut page has disappeared and we have to restart them. So if we restart now, and there's the callouts. So we have to do a restart to bring them in, but they are in the folder, which is the user folder. Still got them in there, in here as well. So we've got the callouts, DRFS, but they're in there because of call titles. Don't get myself, I'm getting my knickers in a twist, so I'm going to finish here. There are other things we can do. It's really powerful, but that gives you a little bit of an insight. Apologies if the video was a little bit choppy editing wise, because I've had a weird day and this is about the 9th take. So I'm going to edit this out and then post it. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments and enjoy.